I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Forum Daily West. Here are some of the top stories we've been following. Canada Post handed strike notice for the second time in 6 months by the union representing over 55,000 postal workers. Plus, Stats Can reporting inflation dropped in April because of the consumer carbon tax. And Canada, the UK, and France threaten action against Israel if restrictions on humanitarian aid into Gaza isn't lifted. Thanks so much for joining us. Canada Post has been handed a strike notice from the union representing more than 55,000 postal workers. Operations at the Postal Service are poised to shut down by the end of the week for the second time in 6 months. No new items or parcels would be accepted until the strike ends, but mail items already in the system would be secured and not delivered until the end of the strike. Social assistance checks and live animals mark the two exceptions for the continued delivery, though the union says no new animals would be let through. Here is Christopher Reynolds with the Canadian Press.
The union informed management employees plan to hit the picket line starting Friday morning at midnight. And if that goes ahead, that work stoppage would affect millions of residents, millions of businesses who typically receive more than 1 million packages per weekday and more than 8 million letters per day. Weekend work remains a big obstacle in these negotiations. Under the current collective agreement, mail carriers have to be paid overtime for shifts on Saturdays, on Sundays. Canada Post has been pushing for a contingent of part-time workers to be deployed in response to demand, and that would include weekends. Now, the workers, on the other hand, have argued for only full-time work and a slightly less flexible model of schedules and shifts. But this is just one of several points that could drastically affect the future of Canada Post. For the folks worried about continuing to receive social assistance checks, those will flow through the mail if whether or not a strike occurs, but everything else will grind to a halt.
Reynolds adds that due to this labor standoff, Canada Post could now be facing an existential threat. Canadians got a break at the pumps last month, and Stats Canada says the headline inflation number dropped to 1.7% in April as the end of the consumer carbon price sent gas prices lower. That's compared with 2.3% in March, but core inflation was picking up last month at the same time. Canada's job market was taking a hit from the tariff battle with the United States. Stats Can also reporting the unemployment rate rose to 6.9% last month. Israel has begun allowing a trickle of food and medicine into the Gaza Strip after seeing the territory's 2 million Palestinians off from all imports for more than 2.5 months. Thousands of children are now at risk of acute malnutrition in Gaza. A warning, the images in this story may be upsetting.
We know for a fact that there are babies who are in urgent life-saving need of these supplements. That needs to come in because the mothers are unable to feed them themselves. And if they do not get those, they will be in mortal danger.
This is what humanitarian officials warned of as Israel began allowing a trickle of food and medicine into the Gaza Strip following nearly 3 months of blockade. Only 5 trucks have entered Gaza since Monday, according to the UN, a fraction of the 600 that crossed daily during a ceasefire earlier this year. UN agencies say the aid arriving now falls far short of what is needed. The humanitarian crisis is the worst it's been in the 19 months since the war began.
Past experience has very clearly showed that the less aid you get in and the less there is properly distributed in Gaza, the more desperation rises.
Each day, thousands gather at the few charity kitchens that remain. Many go home empty-handed. With aid running low, most people depend on them, but many are shutting down as they've run out of food. Since the start of the war, more than 9,000 children have been admitted or treated for acute malnutrition, UNICEF has said. The increase was dramatic in March, with 3,600 cases, or an 80% increase compared to the 2,000 children treated in February. Aid groups have accused Israel of using starvation as a weapon of war. Israel, for its part, insisted that the blockade was necessary to pressure Hamas into releasing the hostages it still holds.
And if it feels like housing is also getting more unaffordable, well, it's because it is. That's according to a report released by the Frontier Center for Public Policy in partnership with Demographia. To talk more about this is David Leese, President and CEO of the Frontier Center, who sat down with BCN's Naveen Day. Meantime, Israel is pressing ahead with its new military offensive in Gaza despite mounting international criticism. Palestinian health officials say Israeli strikes pounded Gaza overnight Tuesday, hitting a family home and a school turned shelter, killing at least 60 people. A total of 85 Palestinians have been killed by airstrikes, and the United Nations says no air raid has reached people in Gaza. 2 days after new supplies began entering the territory. Canada, the UK, and France yesterday threatened concrete actions against Israel if it doesn't stop its renewed military offensive and lift its restrictions on humanitarian aid. Today, the UK made good on that threat by suspending free trade negotiations with Israel and leveling new sanctions targeting West Bank settlements. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is accusing Canada, the UK, and France of giving Hamas, quote, a huge prize by their threats. Today at the White House, U.S. President Donald Trump announced the development of a new missile defense system called the Golden Dome.
Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. And Canada has called us, and they want to be a part of it. So we'll be talking to them. They want to have protection also. So as usual, we help Canada do the best we can. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space.
Trump says the Golden Dome will protect the U.S. from missile threats from both China and Russia. The $175 billion system was inspired by Israel's land-based Iron Dome defense shield that protects it from missiles and rockets. 2 people are dead and 20 others injured after a Mexican Navy ship crashed into New York's Brooklyn Bridge over the weekend. According to Mexico's Navy Chief Raimundo Morales, the ship made no distress calls before the accident but called for support instead due to the content in this next clip. We advise viewer discretion.
There's people up there.
Morales says the port pilot maneuvering the sail vessel had little time to stop it because it was docked a short distance away from the bridge. According to U.S. officials, an investigation into the accident will look at possible engine malfunction and the role of a tugboat that assisted the ship in backing out of its pier. The probe will take at least 30 days. Closer to home, the government of Alberta has announced an increase in funding to help victims of gender-based violence. Its 10-year strategy includes a housing benefit that will increase from $6.2 to $8.5 million this year. The housing benefit helps survivors find a safe, stable home by helping pay for expenses like down payments, rent, utilities, and mortgage payments. Each survivor can receive up to $7,200 per year through flexible monthly payments. The benefit is expected to support more than 1,100 Albertans escaping abuse over the next year. A number of physicians in Lethbridge have released a letter to the public that says that the emergency department at Chinook Regional Hospital will continue to be under increased stress due to doctor shortages. In the letter, Dr. Sean Wild and about a dozen other physicians say the challenges of recruitment and traveling doctors coming and going have made it difficult to keep up with schedules for the past year, and it is only going to get worse.
So what's happening is gradually, as that's getting more and more of a problem, we're finding that since last summer, we've been having multiple days a month where there's one physician shift that we can't fill. And that is numbers wise about 15% fewer hours than we normally have covered. Right now, we're in a position where almost every day is like that. And we're worried that as this continues over the coming months, the way it stands right now, we may be losing 2 doctors per day. Just not able to cover those shifts on many days. And so we're quite worried that that's going to be not enough to see all the patients that we're getting. We do need to increase, ideally, our recruitment of local doctors. In the long term, having the new medical school campus here in Lethbridge should help. Doctors often stay where they train. And also this summer, we're starting to train 1 to 2 emergency specialists in our department each year with a new program in conjunction with the University of Calgary.
Well, this week is National Paramedic Services Week. The event kicked off in southern Alberta with a display and information center at Medicine Hat Mall. BCN's Naveen Day was there and has the details.
If your day involves paramedics, it is likely that you are not having a good day. For some of us, however, they are the reason why we are still alive, which is why it is fitting to honor these first responders with a National Paramedic Services Week. In Medicine Hat, the week kicked off with a display of EMS vehicles and equipment. Paramedics were on site to share information on community safety as well as information on how to become a paramedic. Advanced care paramedic Ellen Bayton says the response at these types of events is very positive.
We've had people doing CPR challenges, which is really fun for us to do. People are really learning a lot of different things our equipment, and just all of our things for that. This is not the first time we've actually had a booth in the mall like this for quite a few years. So normally I'm a frontline paramedic. I'm on the streets. I've been doing that for 13 years. So just a fun way to change up our week this week to do something different and get it back into community in a different way than responding to calls.
Attendees at the mall were given opportunities to get up close and personal with some of the equipment, as well as get hands-on and brush up on their CPR skills. Bayton adds the event is beneficial not just for civilians, but for paramedics as well.
I do think they attract more people into the field, and they also really give existing paramedics some of that reminder of why you got into this job. When you're explaining your job to people, why you're there to help people, things like that. There's retention and recruitment. That's a really big part of it for us.
While the job can often be thankless, Bayton says she still finds her job very rewarding. Paramedics can find themselves in peculiar situations, but they are also able to follow up on their calls and get closure.
Memorable moments for myself have been being able to deliver a baby, bringing life into this world in the field. That was my favorite thing I've ever done. So I'm always chasing that again. I would love to do that again. This past year, it's been the first time ever in my career where someone was in cardiac arrest, and we revived them. And about a couple months later, I was able to meet that person again in real life, and they gave thanks to that, which is part of EMS Week too. If people want to give thanks to us and stuff, we're often a thankless job. But it was very cool to meet someone that you actually saved.
National Paramedic Services Week runs until May 24th. You can express gratitude by visiting thankaparamedic.com. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day.
Lethbridge police have charged a 17-year-old boy after he allegedly shot an airsoft gun resembling a pistol directly at occupied vehicles. Last Saturday afternoon, police received several calls about a young male in a red hoodie shooting directly at occupants of vehicles along McMaster Boulevard West and Temple Boulevard West. Some vehicles were dented while others had smashed windshields. When officers arrived, they saw the teen flee from a business, leaving a bag in the custody of another youth. The bag contained a black airsoft gun that resembled a Glock pistol and some ammunition. Police caught up to him a short distance away. The 17-year-old from Lethbridge, who cannot be identified under provisions of the Youth Criminal Justice Act, is facing several charges, including 2 counts of assault with a weapon and carrying a concealed weapon. He was remanded into custody and is scheduled to attend youth court on May 21st. Pothole filling season has returned to Lethbridge. City crews have been back on the streets since mid-April filling potholes, and there's a lot of work still to do. Crews will focus on main roads before moving to residential streets, with some work performed during the night. Residents are asked to slow down and follow posted signage in areas where work is being done, and to report potholes to 311 or the City of Lethbridge website.
So potholes are getting created from the melting and thaw action during the winter, right? So normally we wait until all potholes are showing and the frost is out of the ground, and until we have hard asphalt. During the winter we have a small operation where we use recycled asphalt to address some, but with a very limited capacity due to weather and staff availabilities. So we really encourage residents to not drive into our work sites, follow the signage, and also not speed around our workers. And then, just even don't walk into the work sites, because there is tack oil that you can get on your shoes.
Besides filling thousands of potholes, the city says it also tackles approximately 800 pothole service requests each and every year. Well, in addition to pothole season, it's also rainy season, and we saw some light sprinkles today. A few more are expected this evening, along with a possible thunderstorm. I will be right back with your weather report.